Yo. Welcome back, everybody. License to Ball podcast. Here to just talk about some key points, in my opinion, about Week 7. So let's get to it. Topic number 1. Are the Jets done for? Well, just like I said last week, this is a management issue. They do have the personnel that they need. They do have, now that they have the acquisition of Davante Adams, which everybody was raving about when it happened earlier in the week or earlier last week. I knew that change wasn't going to happen right away, but I still kind of expected them to perform a little bit better than they did against the Steelers. But the Steelers is the second-rate defense in the whole league. So it was kind of a tough spot. And I don't think Jeff Ulbrich can make the plays needed, call the plays needed for offense. I know their new OC is Todd Downing. They demoted Nathaniel Hackett. It's just a lot going on over there. And I hear people saying Aaron Rodgers might be done for. Look, we already know he's at the end of his career. But I still think you should have gotten at least a solid 2 years out of him. It's still kind of early, but what's their record? I think they only won 2 games so far. Let me see. Yeah, they're 2-5. Could they make the playoffs? Probably not. Could they turn it around and maybe show some hope for the next year? Because Aaron Rodgers still has 1 year left on his contract. But the problem is, what can they do between the rest of the season and with next year? Also with next year, like, they've made so many changes. Are they going to turn it around that fast? They basically only have a year and a half left for Aaron Rodgers to do well, unless they want to bring him back. And that's where the rumblings of him retiring are starting to get louder. But for me, I don't think he should retire yet. I think his attitude is what makes him a problem. But at the end of the day, he could still make the throws that most quarterbacks can't make. He could still escape the pocket. His style of play isn't really conducive to him being a superior athlete. It's just basically him knowing how to make certain plays and, wiggle around the pocket and do, nifty tricks, that's what made him who he is. So I think he's still got a couple years left in him if he doesn't get injured. If he has a major injury, it might take him a while to heal. So, just so many factors, but I don't think he should retire. I just think the Jets, the formula they have now, is mainly management, and it's not going to work. They need a solid coaching staff, and their owner needs to make better decisions. He kind of threw everything together at the last minute, and it just didn't work. It didn't work. They need to invest in another QB for when Aaron Rodgers leaves, and they got to bring a better coach. I got respect for Ulbrich, but I don't think he's the guy. He's definitely not the guy. Rodgers did okay. He made some bad throws, 24 for 39, 276 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Like I said, he's been hovering around the middle of the league as far as QB play. But you see flashes of greatness when he makes certain throws and makes certain plays. And now it'll be interesting to see how much Davante Adams makes a difference, or is the season already lost? Obviously, they're professionals. I don't think they're going to throw in the towel right now. But we got to see what happens because it's just a lot going on. And again, that's just the owner thing. It's just the Jets being the Jets. Certain franchises, they just have to do a complete overhaul in order for them to really get things going. Just like the Commanders, my Commanders. So, I got to throw that in there. We'll talk about them later. Don't worry. And to talk about Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin right now is looking like a genius. Everybody last week was saying, why is he doing this? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why don't they keep Fields in there? People were doubting Russ, but also just happy with Fields' upside. The Steelers were 4-2, and they said, why don't you just keep Fields in there? But at the end of the day, they saw something in Wilson that put him in there, and now this decision looks like one of the best decisions Tomlin has made in his career. Very controversial before today's game. Now, after the game, watch how much praise he's going to get. Russ performed excellent. I think he already broke a couple records. I don't have those records offhand as a Steelers quarterback, but he performed excellent. 16-29, 264, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. And if you watch the game, you've seen him make throws that Fields cannot make. And that's why they put him in there. Fields can manage the game. Fields can make some plays. But Russ is a Super Bowl winning quarterback who knows how to make certain throws in certain plays that require a quarterback only to make. And this is where, like I mentioned before when I talked about Caleb Williams, Fields really did go to a better coaching situation. That's why he's performing. But even the great coaching staff of Pittsburgh knows that Fields is still not ready to lead the team all the way. So they won mainly because of the coaching and because Fields is a good player. But if you want to get to the next level, they were smart enough to understand that they got to roll the dice with Russell Wilson. And he performed well. The Jets defense wasn't that great. They were supposedly the best in the league. And more about that. Coming into the game, they were ranked 7th. They were a top-ranked defense. Now they dropped all the way down to 14th. I can't remember if they were 7th or 8th, but bottom line is they were up there. Ever since Jeff Ulbrich left the defense, I'm not going to say he left the defense, but he took over the head coaching job, the Jets defense has been giving up more and more points. So that's something else to look at. I wonder if it's because he has to pretty much coach the whole team now, why the Jets defense are starting to go down in the rankings. But at the end of the day, the whole sentiment was Jets have the best defense. They just need a better offense. But now their defense isn't doing it that well. Pittsburgh put up 37 points against them. So, again, a lot to unpack for the Jets. But I think Pittsburgh now with Russell Wilson's performance and Pittsburgh record and them being the top 2 defense in the league, they're in conversations for that AFC title match. For the past couple years, it's always been the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs. Now you got to throw the Pittsburgh in that AFC championship contention, which is a huge step forward because for the past few years, they've been a well-coached team, playoff-bound team, but they're not going to go anywhere. Now they legit have a chance to compete for the AFC championship, especially with Mahomes dealing with what he's dealing with on offense with the Chiefs. And then you bring that on top of facing Pittsburgh, the number 2 ranked defense in the league. It could be Pittsburgh versus Baltimore in the AFC championship game, it's just a crazy rivalry anyway. But again, never count out the Chiefs. You just can't count out the Chiefs. So, but much respect to Mike Tomlin. He is an excellent coach, and he definitely rolled the dice with this one, and Russell Wilson delivered. Let's see if this can be consistent. But I think they got a great combo. If Russell Wilson ever goes down again or starts playing bad, they can just throw Fields in there, and Fields can manage the game. But I think what we saw from Russ is what they believe they need to take them to the next level. And I agree. I was a little skeptical at first, but he did the damn thing. Russ, he did his thing. And again, you got him playing well with the top two defense. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot for the AFC. Okay, so next topic. Of course, I like this one. The Commanders, the DMV. Shout out to everybody out there. I'm in Los Angeles, but it's all good. Always gonna rep where I'm from. And the Commanders are doing great. Little concerning that Jaden Daniels hurt himself. He hurt his ribs, but they said he's week to week. And to be honest, Mariota is a great backup. He can hold the fort down until Jaden Daniels gets healthy again. They face Carolina, the league's worst defense. I kind of was expecting a shootout because Washington's defense isn't that great either. But for some reason, Andy Dalton completely tanked. I mean, his stats were horrendous. 11 for 16, 93 yards, 2 interceptions. With Washington's D ranked in the 20s, that's, I don't know, and that's what I told you again, as far as teams with bad management. This is a Panthers issue. This is not a Bryce Young or Andy Dalton issue. Andy Dalton has bounced around a million times. He's not going to get you to the promised land, but he's a good backup, which is why his first week starting, he blew things out of the water. Everybody's like, oh, perfect decision. Now what? Now he's going back to doing what he does. Backup quarterbacks, they have sparks of greatness, but then they fizzle out. So their defense is the worst in the league. What are you going to do with that? They have no offense. They have no defense. Their coaching staff is not that great. They're another one of those franchises. You got the Panthers, you got the Browns, you got the Jets. They just need complete overhauls. And until that happens, there are going to be a lot of problems. As I said before, I don't think this coach is going to make it to the end of the year. If he does, he's going to get fired at the end of the year. So we'll see about that. And obviously, I'm not the type of guy to call for people's jobs. I just feel like that Panthers organization has just been performing very badly from an organizational standpoint. And it's not Bryce Young's fault. It's not even Andy Dalton's fault, but Andy Dalton is not the answer, even for a temporary fix. I mean, 93 yards, 2 interceptions. I mean, that's terrible. I mean, they basically shut him out. They only got 7 points, 40-7. And that's the upside for the Commanders, is that they can still put up points even with Mariota, who Mariota is a good quarterback, but he's not the answer. He's given plenty of chances to start back in Atlanta, back in a couple other teams, and he's just a good backup. And I feel like he did the job great when Daniels stepped out, and we're just hoping that Daniels can come back healthy and still perform at the high level that he's been performing. It's just tough when you got a rookie injury, but bruised ribs, they don't really put you out for that long. You just don't want to rush him and maybe affect his psyche, And to be honest, he needs to get in the weight room. Hopefully they bulk him up for next year, because he's a smaller quarterback, but he was able to play well in the SEC. I think he had some injuries in college too, but at the end of the day, he is the star quarterback, and they got to get him in there, but not rush him, because Mariota will hold the fort down. So go Commanders. Yeah. All right. So our next topic, Deshaun Watson. Terrible injury. It was a non-contact injury. And he just, I think they said, ruptured his Achilles tendon. So he's out for the year. And I know the Cleveland fans are glad to get him out of there. But I do want to touch on what I guess everybody has been talking about since it happened. they are booing him or cheering that he's hurt, I think is a low blow. Um, that's Bush League. That's terrible. And the reason why I say that is I get it, right? With Deshaun Watson, it's a complicated situation. There are people when he came to Cleveland that were unhappy. Those type of people, I can't really fault because the charges against him were so crazy that a lot of people couldn't see past those charges and didn't want him on the Browns at all and were always hoping for his downfall. If those people in the stadiums booed him, I guess that's understandable, right? But obviously no one can tell. But in my opinion, they weren't booing him because of his off the field issues. They were cheering that he got hurt because he just been playing bad. And I feel like now they're going to play it to where, oh, what do you expect? It's Deshaun Watson. I don't want to get too much of his off the field issues, but I feel like they might use that as an excuse to justify them booing a man who's getting carted off the field or cheering a man who's getting carted off the field. And I just think that's low. With serious injuries like that, I don't think you should ever be happy that happened. You shouldn't be cheering that he's leaving. It's just, it was a collection of boos and cheers, but basically they were happy that he was getting carted off the field. And I just think that's just terrible, a terrible fan base. I know the city of Cleveland has been frustrated, but these are the same fans that burned LeBron James' jersey after all he did for them. And obviously they welcomed him back with open arms, but not to attack the whole Cleveland fan base. I love Cleveland. Shout out to Bone Thugs and Harmony. But I just feel like that was just terrible that they were not at least giving the man respect as he was getting carted off the field. And back to what I was saying, if you didn't like him and didn't like whatever he was being accused of course, those type of people would want to see him get hit by a car. That's dramatic, but whatever he's being accused of is not good. So that can trigger a lot of people. But again, they were booing him just about football, and they were using his pass as an excuse to do that Bush League behavior. The man's getting carted off the field. Show some respect. But as far as football numbers, yeah, he's playing terrible. Only 1,100 yards passing, 31st in the league QBR rating, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, leads the leagues in sacks with 33 sacks. He's been playing bad. But show some respect. These guys risk their lives. These guys, he really put his body on the line for the city of Cleveland. So we just got to do better just as a fan base. Respect the players when they get hurt. That's all you got to do. Just respect the players when they get hurt. And if you're that pissed off at him about his past, don't go to the football games. Don't support him. Or if you go to the games, petition him. So, picket, do some picket signs. Say, we don't want you here. Protest him while he's playing before he got hurt. Don't cheer the man or be happy that the guy got carted off the field. Don't be happy about that. Like I feel like this is like some type of selective morality type of thing. If you guys really hate him that much, you guys should have protests about him going there. Otherwise, again, show some class. The guy was hurt, and hopefully, he recovers quickly. I don't want to talk about the off the field stuff. If he's guilty of that stuff, maybe this is his karma. I don't want to say that. I just hope the man gets better, and the Cleveland fans need to show a little bit more class. So that's all about that. All right. And speaking of injuries, our guy Tua said he's returning. And this is what I expected. Let me read his quote. I appreciate your concern. I really do. And I love this game. I love it to the death of me. That's it. End quote. That's what Tua said. And this is what I expected. Because let me tell you something. You don't make it to the professional football league unless you got that dog in you. You don't get anywhere in life as far as to that elite level unless you got that dog in you. Forget all the money aside, all the injuries aside. That man wants to play. This is his life. A lot of these players, this is their life. They know what comes with it. They know what they're signing up for. So I respect Tua for saying I still want to play. He got that dog in him. But I will say this. This is where the Miami franchise needs to step up. They need to put him on the sidelines. They need to take him out, release him, cut him, do whatever. Honor him, of course. Honor him, of course. I got nothing but respect for him as a player. But the organization needs to be the bigger person. Because like I said, no football player who has any type of competitive spirit is going to quit. They're not. Maybe Andrew Luck did, Barry Sanders did, but Tua's got that dog in him. He ain't quitting. He's not quitting. So it's up to the organization to step up and be responsible, because me personally, I think that's very dangerous what he's doing, and I'll never tell him to quit. But it's up to the organization to say, hey, you know what, Tua, we love you. We appreciate you doing this for us. We appreciate you putting your body on the line for us. But as an organization, we care about you as a human, number one, and we don't want to see you get hurt. We do not want to see you get hurt, okay? We don't want to see you die on the field. We don't want to see that. So with all due respect, we are going to have to shelf you for the rest of the year and probably release you. With all due respect, maybe, give him a big ceremony, give him a Kobe Bryant-like ceremony, something, just show him a lot of love, but you got to let him go. Do not put him back on that field. Because let me tell you something. If you do and something bad happens, God forbid, not only is a family going to lose their son, their brother, their father, if he has kids. I'm not sure if he has kids. Y'all can correct me on that. But an organization will absolutely be held liable for putting him back on that field. So I don't know if they're going to make him sign an agreement saying, hey, you know what? If you get hurt again, we're not responsible. I don't know if they're going to make his family do that. I don't know. But that's the second issue, is as a franchise, that will be a horrible look if you keep him in the field and something bad happens to him. And I know this is an unpopular opinion, but Tua should never want to quit. He should absolutely play until he can't play anymore. But the organization has to step in and tell him, no, we have to release you. We don't want that under our watch. We don't want you to get hurt under our watch anymore because we care about you, because we care about you as a human. We know you will put your life on the line for us, which is why we're not going to recoup any of that guaranteed money, but we got to take you out. That's what the organization should say. That's my opinion about Tua. Much respect to him. He's a competitor. And again, you're not going to get that far in the NFL if you don't have that dog in you. Undersized quarterback. He came out of Alabama. You just can't make it this far unless if you have the mentality that he has. And that's why I said it's up to the organization to just step in and be the bigger person. Do not let him get back on that field. That last concussion was very scary. Do not let him get back on that field. If you guys want to do what's good for him and want to do what's good for your organization long term. Maybe snatch up Bryce Young before Carolina figures out that he's actually a good quarterback and that's the coaches that suck. You never know. Bryce Young could fit in good. He came from Alabama. They played under Nick Saban's offense, coming into the league, So why don't you take Bryce Young? Give Bryce Young a look. Talk to Carolina. Figure it out, But do not let Tua play, please, And I'm sure the doctors are advising him not to also. Any doctor that says he can go play after those last two concussions he had is not a good doctor. He's getting paid. So shout out to Tua. Again, I'll say it again, nothing but respect. totally understand him not wanting to quit, but this is an organizational issue that the Dolphins need to do. So there's that. All right. So what's the next topic? Jets, Commanders, Watson, Tua. All right. So the Chiefs are still undefeated. Will you look at these numbers from Mahomes? This is crazy. 16 of 27, 154 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Is this Patrick Mahomes? Or is this Bryce Young? Oh, sorry, Bryce. Didn't mean to give you a stray. You're a good quarterback. You just need a better organization. Did not mean to give you a stray, Bryce. But these yards are terrible for Mahomes. I mean, he did get 5 rushes for 39 yards with that 33-yard touchdown where he trucked that defender. He trucked that defender with his dad bod that everybody likes to talk about, but he trucked him. So, I mean, this goes back to what I said in my previous episodes. Mahomes is going to find a way to win. He is going to find a way to win, okay? And if you got the defense, they're the 4th-rate defense in the league. So if they can hold the scores down to a minimum, Patrick Mahomes will do whatever it takes. This is why I say he's the Michael Jordan of football. Other quarterbacks will try to say, I want to beat him through the arm. I want to beat you with my arm. I want to beat you with my arm. Mahomes did whatever he had to do. And it was ugly, but he made it happen. He made it happen. 49ers defense, I mean, what? They ranked 20th. They weren't that great, but they still got some dogs on the other side. And you know, the Bosas, those guys, they give I think Trent Williams, they give Patrick Mahomes hell. They've given him hell a long time. They've played a few times before. Obviously in the Super Bowl. So they know how to get to Patrick Mahomes. But at the end of the day, he finds a way to win. He finds a way to win. And obviously, the 49ers got their injuries still. Ayuk is out for the whole season, which is unfortunate because he fought so hard to get his money, but now he's out for the season. McCaffrey's still out. Deebo Samuels, I think, reportedly has pneumonia now, so he might not even play next week. 49ers are in a lot of trouble. They're, I think, one game under 500, barely floating around. But the long-term solution, I don't think they're going to be able to compete in the NFC for the NFC title game. I don't think they're going to. They might not even make the playoffs. I mean, they could limp into the playoffs, but until everybody gets healthy and everybody gets on the same page, I don't think they're going to have a good year this year. They're just ruined by injuries. And I think after this season, if they have everybody healthy and they don't win considerably next year, Shanahan will be on the hot seat if he's not on the hot seat already. You know, they were questioning his calls on the Super Bowl last year, and now the way he's handling these injuries, next man up is they're not really doing what they got to do. So we'll see what happens with the 49ers, but it's not looking good for them right now. 1 second. Let's see what their record is. I should already know this. Forgive me. Yeah, they're 3-4. So just, like I said, one game below 500. So maybe they could turn it around, you know, if they win like 7 straight, but I don't see that happening. Too many injuries. Brock Purdy, he did okay, 200 yards, 3 interceptions though, but he got 2 rushing touchdowns. Looks like he's doing whatever he has to do to win as well. He's putting points on the board. But 49ers are this could be the beginning of them just completely going downhill. They've been fighting it the past few weeks, but it's not looking good for them. And of course, the Chiefs are still undefeated. with the emergence of Pittsburgh and the way Baltimore's playing, do we think that the Chiefs have enough to go back to the Super Bowl? Right now, their offense is looking pretty bad, and if they don't turn that around, instead of them versus Baltimore in the AFC title game, it might be the Steelers versus the Ravens. But again, you can never count out Pat. But I'm just waiting for their offense to wake up, and it just doesn't seem like it's been doing that. I mean, I just can't believe these numbers by Patrick Mahomes. But again, numbers don't matter with those guys. They'll figure out a way to win. We'll just see what happens. So there's that. And the Lions are on a roll. So, okay, so there's a lot to unpack here too. All right. I know last week I said I don't really trust the Vikings, but seeing how they competed against the Lions, they're a legit contender. It's just tough that they're coming out of that conference with the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. And I feel like the Green Bay Packers are the best team in that division. That's my opinion. I think the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers are the best team in that division, simply because they have a top-tier quarterback. I think Jordan Love is better than Goff, and I think he's better than Sam Darnold. And I think when it comes down to it, he's going to beat them. He beat C.J. Stroud. Obviously not head-to-head. Both of them put up good numbers. I don't know if I have time to talk about that game in this segment, but in my opinion, the NFC North is a tough division. But the Vikings showed that they can compete. And they lost to none other than the Detroit Lions, who is their NFC North rival. So, the game is as close as it could be. 29-31, coming in, 6th-ranked defense for Minnesota, 8th-ranked defense for the Lions. The difference maker was Goff and Darnold. As I said before, I don't think Darnold is a top-tier quarterback who can take it to the promised land. And if you look at their numbers, they were pretty even, but Goff had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Darnold had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But both teams had a balanced offense. They had a balanced attack. Both their running backs did good. Minnesota's Aaron Jones did 93 yards and a touchdown. Detroit's Jamar Gibbs did 116, 2 touchdowns. They're both complete teams on offense and on defense so far. It's going to be interesting to see what happens later on. Who's going to come out of that conference on top? My bet's on Green Bay, but it could very well be Detroit. But I still, in order, if I feel like the best in the conference, it's going to be Green Bay, Detroit, and Minnesota. But that conference is so good. Even the Bears are doing good that, they might beat each other up and limp into the playoffs themselves, So, we'll see what happens. It's a very exciting division. I'm very glad that those teams, those historic franchises, could turn things around. And, I think Green Bay made the best decision they could ever make by letting Rodgers go. Not saying he was bringing them down, but, his attitude, he's kind of like a cloud over certain franchises. And I don't want to say that's what's happening with the Jets, because their organization is just bad. But Jordan Love is the answer to Green Bay, and I think he's going to come out on top out of that division. That's my call. Good game, down to the wire. Gotta love it. We'll see what happens when they face again. All right. Okay, so what do we got next? Oh, the Bucks and Ravens game that just happened tonight. Because this is a Monday night I'm recording, by the way. Hopefully I'll edit it enough and upload it by Tuesday afternoon tomorrow. Very, very entertaining game between the Bucks and the Ravens. Baker Mayfield shows that he is a worthy first overall draft pick. He bounced around a lot. Nobody believed in him. But again, this goes on organization. The Bucks are a decent organization. In my opinion, not the best, but they're a good organization. They're good enough to get things done. Their coach is good, and their management is okay. So, and Mayfield did great. 31 of 45, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He played well. The Ravens defense is still iffy, and that's going to be their Achilles heel going on into the playoffs. Their defense is not that great. And if they were to face a Russell Wilson and a Patrick Mahomes, they're going to get exposed regardless of what Patrick Mahomes has on his side. So the Ravens, I've said this a ton of times already this year, they have to improve their defense. They have to. Because their offense is crazy. They didn't even use Henry that much. I think going on into the fourth quarter, going on into halfway through the third quarter, he only had 4 rushes for 23 yards. Derrick Henry, 4 rushes, 23 yards. And guess what? This guy finishes the game with 15 rushes for 169 yards. And we don't even want to talk about that screen pass he caught out in the open field and had the DB on froze, or if he's a linebacker, he literally, Derrick Henry's big old self, made that DB stop in his tracks, and he walked in the end zone when he caught that pass out in the flat. Like, come on, man. Like their offense is crazy. Lamar Jackson, 17 to 22, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, QBR of 158.1. This is crazy. They literally will whoop you the whole game and then give it to Derrick Henry in the end to just chew out the clock. 169 yards when most of those were in the fourth quarter for Derrick Henry. Man, the Ravens are dangerous, but they got to work on their defense. It's going to be very interesting to see when they play the Chiefs again. If they play the Chiefs, when they play the Steelers, this is going to be. Do the Ravens play the Chiefs again? Let's see their schedule. Assuming not the playoffs. Let's see. Oh, is this the Ravens? Hold on. Oh no, this is San Francisco. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Chill out. I got you. All right. What's on their schedule? Yep, they got the Steelers on the 17th. They got the Bengals. They got the Broncos. They don't face the Chiefs, but they face the Texans. They face the Eagles. Listen, their defense needs to figure it out. They're facing some really good offenses coming up. Their defense has to figure it out. Because I don't see how long this offense is going to bail them out. High-powered offense. Excellent offense. Super Bowl winning offense, 100%. But now, how much will they have to keep bailing out the defense? That's going to be the key. Let's see. Where is Baltimore ranked, by the way? The numbers don't matter. They've been giving up a ton of points all year. So let me see where they're ranked. I should have written it down. Yeah, it says they're ranked 17th, but I don't know, man. They've been giving up a lot of points lately, so they got to figure the defense out, and I think this might be their year to win the Super Bowl if they can make a few changes. If they can't, again, it'll be interesting to see. The AFC is stacked. Of course, they got the Bills, they got the Texans, but the top 2 teams other than the Ravens that I'm looking at are, like I said, the Steelers and the Chiefs. Can't count the Chiefs out, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So hopefully, if the Ravens want to win the Super Bowl, they got to tighten up on defense. So that's where I'm at. Thank you for watching License the Ball podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, get some engagement. It's a lot of work, but all right, y'all. Peace.